first just want to say congratulations. I'm sure you've gotten a few at this point.
This is so amazing. Thank you so much, SAFTAs. Firstly, thank you so much to Leila Swat for believing in me.
The film we're talking about today is Why the Cattle Wait, and we're joined by PHUMI Morare.
Krazuka kusopha izibhakabhaka. Apho amaphakade afukanyelwa azalwa kobutsha.
I guess there is that no one is immune to love and the pains and joys of love. And I guess in my own personal life at the time, I was experiencing like a painful love story. So I feel like I've had a successful day if I've had one meaningful conversation or met one new person in a meaningful way. And you can't get more than 3 takes with the bird, because the way to get them to move from one point to the next is with food. And then they get full. That's just love. If you have a duty to do something, but love is standing in the way, maybe that's the reason you don't fulfill your duty.
Welcome to Black Out Loud in association with Brazen Black, home of African fearless and unapologetic. This is a space where we celebrate bold storytelling, fearless creators, and art that refuses to whisper. Today's episode is deeply rooted in African mythology. We're talking about a film that blends folklore, love, and colonial history all under one cinematic experience. The film we're talking about today is Why the Cattle Wait.
Izakulinda mntanomntu. Kukrazuka kusopha izibhakabhaka. Apho amaphakade afukanyelwa azalwa kobutsha. Ndakulinda mntanomntu.
And we're joined by PHUMI Morare, who is the writer, director, and producer behind the film. PHUMI, how are you? And welcome to Black Out Loud.
I'm good, how are you? And thank you for having me.
Thank you for blessing us with your presence. Before we even go further, first just want to say congratulations. I'm sure you've gotten a few at this point. Actually,
Thank you.
we were at Heat Seekers together, which is
Yes.
where Why the Cattle Wait was playing. It was the first time I was seeing it there. I remember also it was like, wasn't it like 1 or 2 nights after winning the SAFTA?
Yes, it was. It was the night after.
How was that? How was that experience?
Sure, it was very moving because the film, it's funny because it had like 2 different journeys. One journey was internationally, where it was a hit or miss, and some audiences were like, I don't get it, or some festivals were like, I don't get it, and others were like,
Really?
yeah, and then others were like, it doesn't resonate and all of that. But then here at home and also on the continent, it was just resonating. And it was like a moment for me where I had to remind myself, oh, Gonje, when I started making this film, I felt like I'm making this for my people. Yeah. And that's the only audience I care about. So when I was getting rejections internationally, I forgot about that. But when it won the SAFTA, I was like, it's a full circle moment of me feeling like, wow, this film resonates at home, and that feels so much more meaningful than it resonating internationally, because I did make it for my people.
And the period when you're experiencing that, those rejections, rather, for lack of a better word, was this like early in the release of the film or in the festival run of the film, or was it at a later stage?
It was throughout.
Throughout.
Really? Yeah. So throughout, it was being well received at home and on the continent, and overseas, it was hit or miss. And And it even was funny because one of the festivals that rejected it overseas actually had developed it. Yeah, so
Okay.
that's it's like so confused. So it was that kind of thing. I'm like, okay, it's not like resonating, you know, which is initially I thought maybe it means there's something wrong with it, but then I realized, oh, it's not for those audiences. Yeah.
Isn't it so like painful when you start asking yourself like what could it be? Why isn't it? And sometimes it's just like, no, the wrong person watched your movie today. It's just, you know, or maybe they were not having a good day, or you know.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you yourself have been a part of certain juries in the past. As a filmmaker, at some point you get invited to judge something, some competition at some point. And I just knowing that and having seen how those processes can go sometimes, you're like, you know what? I'm a bit more kinder to myself for the times I've been rejected, because sometimes you do get rejected for the most arbitrary things. I mean, if the festival that developed your film is gonna reject it, it's like, okay, we really have to think about that one.
Exactly.
Right, so tell us a little bit more about how the film came to be. Like, what was, and sometimes, you know, an idea doesn't come from one thing. It was not inspired by one thing, but what were the seeds that kind of planted themselves in order for why the kettle weight came to be?
Yeah, it was a number of things. One of them was I was reading Credo Mutwa's folk tales, specifically the book Indaba, My Children. And I was thinking a lot about like African folklore, mythology, and how that's represented on screen, and wanting to explore that. Especially after watching The Burial of Kojo, and also another film from Cote d'Ivoire called Night of the Kings, and how they were able to capture this like essence of African folklore on the screen in a way that's quite different. So that's something that was like in my mind, and there was a specific character in Indaba, My Children, which was the goddess Ma, and she was like this creation goddess, and she'd made the earth, and then one day, like the things that she's created, which are like pre-human, kind of destroy everything, and she wants to start over. And so she does like a Noah's Ark kind of thing. So I really loved that story, especially because I felt like, so if you've grown up in church, you know, like the Bible version of Noah's Ark. So I was like, oh, this is the African Noah's Ark. This is so cool. And then the other thing that inspired it was I'd come across a love story from East Africa of a goddess who had fallen in love with a human, and this kind of negotiation she had to have between duty and love. And so I found that kind of an interesting idea. And then I had also seen these images by a photographer called Christopher Rimmer of the cows that go to the beach in the Eastern Cape. But the perspective that he had taken those photos from, he almost like made them look like deities. And he made them also kind of feel like they had character and personality. And so that really intrigued me. And I was feeling like, well, if we take that perspective of the cows, like, why do they even go there? You know, like maybe they're waiting for something or someone. And if they are, who, you know? So kind of all those ideas were coming together for me as I was in the lead up to writing the film.
And how long was that period of like these ideas coming together? And when do you have the moment where you're like, oh, I could put this into one thing?
Yes. So maybe it was like a period of a year. Because actually, at the time, actually I had forgotten about this until now that I'm speaking to you. At the time, I was writing a story about a mythical creature that was in love with a herder man, and it was like not coming together, and I was trying different versions of that story just because I love fantasy, I love mythical stories. And so at the time I was also writing that in parallel. So I guess when these ideas helped change that story into the one that it's become now.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. And you know,
Yes.
you mentioned a goddess falling in love with a person, and that was one of the questions I actually wanted to touch on, which is what informed, outside of your love for fantasy and African mythology, and obviously the very clear reference that you just mentioned, what made you be like, okay, this is what I wanted to be, exploring love through a goddess instead of a normal, you know, woman or person or human being?
Yes. It's such a hard question because I, because of the different routes I came to making the story. But what I will say is, because I was in film school in the US at the time, and because of that, I was thinking a lot about the ideas of colonization and its impact on us, and just looking at the Black experience in America was making me think a lot about that. And I was thinking about the goddess Ma in Indaba, My Children, and her reason for coming and saying, this is enough. I was thinking, like, if God saw what was going to happen to Africans, what would have stopped God from doing anything about it, you know? And so then I thought, well, if God has human characteristics, you know, maybe there's some kind of like internal conflict, like do I intervene or not? So then I thought about what kind of human conflicts are interesting, and love was one, because I felt like if there was that whole idea of duty versus love, if you have a duty to do something but love is standing in the way, maybe that's the reason you don't fulfill your duty. So that's how the idea of like a deity character came in, because I wanted to explore that idea of like, she foresees something bad is going to happen and she's come to do something about it, but now she's conflicted because there's this person that she loves that she wants to save first.
Now I have so many other questions, and one of them is there a form of commentary on your end with the character of Nomvula, where you're basically saying, and this is maybe me projecting, but you're basically saying no one is immune to love. Was there ever a consciousness of that when you were telling the story and crafting the film?
Yeah, I guess there is that no one is immune to love and the pains and joys of love. And I guess in my own personal life at the time, I was experiencing like a painful love story, you know. So I guess it was also my way of like expressing like that as well. And I was also interested in the idea of like, because like these kinds of stories, even the one I read from East Africa had a happily ever after. So because of the space that I was in my personal life, I was like, well, what about the unhappily ever after version of the love story, you know? So I was interested in that as well.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So were you consciously exploring the tension between love and responsibility? And in your view, is it fair to choose duty over love? Because when watching the film, you can tell that this guy wants to be with the goddess. He's still in love, right? But now he's conflicted because he has already has a family, you know. So in your view, you didn't make a commentary in the film, of course, but I think he chose his family, but it was kind of like he was betraying his love for duty. Yeah, so
That's an interesting question because, okay, firstly, yes, I was consciously exploring responsibility or duty versus love. But I didn't want to impose where I thought it should end up. Yeah, it was more exploring the tension between them and exploring what it looks like to have to wrestle with that and not making a moral judgment on which choice is right versus wrong. Yeah.
It's an interesting thing because when Debats asked the question, you realize also it's not just on one side. It's not just on Novula's side. It's also on
his side, yeah.
Yeah, where it's like tough decisions need to be made all around. And that's the question I was going to, which you ultimately did answer, that you were going through something personal in your life around the time you wrote the film, because you can feel that when you do watch the film. It is a film about unrequited love, and like how that can play out. And so to hear you mention that there was, it was loosely based on an experience.
Yes.
So my other question that I have is with regards to African folklore and storytelling and how we grew up. You've mentioned yourself hearing these stories by the fire. What importance is do you think there is in making sure we keep these stories alive and at least put them in a visual form, because we don't get many of those? But actually, I'm so sorry, can I just pause that question there? I have another question.
Okay.
Can you take us through like the process of why the cattle wait coming to be, like from development to the festival that helped develop the film in the first place? Can you take us from there and what that experience was like?
Okay, cool. So once I had brought all these ideas into the mythical love story I was already writing, and I changed everything, I then felt like I had started hearing about these programs and stuff, and I was like, oh, I'd like to get this workshopped, because normally I just workshop with friends and stuff. And so then I applied to different programs that do that. So, and also it was a way to help my career as well, just to be in programs. So I applied for Talent Durban, and I did that as well. That was really, really great because it's, for anyone who hasn't done it, you're in a group of fellow filmmakers with the mentor, and you're all discussing your projects and giving each other inputs, and then you're doing iterations of the project, and that was really, really nice. And then you get to pitch the project at the end to producers. Yeah. And then I did this other one in the US because I was studying in the US at the time. It's called the Tribeca Women's Filmmaker Tribeca Chanel Women's Filmmaker Program. And that one, they choose 5 projects to go through this 1 week of workshops with mentors across all disciplines.
All this in development?
Yeah, all in development, yeah. And then at the end of the week, we pitch, and then the project that wins gets $80,000 to make their film. I didn't win, but each film still got $5,000 of award money for participating in the program, which was helpful towards the film's budget. Yeah. So those are the programs it went through, and then through those programs, I got to meet producers. Well, especially the one here, Talent Durban. I got to meet some producers there from pitching.
Yeah.
And then I just followed up, and I also got the help from the people who manage Talent Durban to link me up with other producers who might be interested as well. So that's how I was able to get a producer. And then to actually make it, I applied for the for NFVF funding, and at the time they were doing PESP. Yeah, so I did PESP for the film. And then also, because I have a finance background, I decided to use that as well, because that's the first career I had. So I pitched to a company to also put money into the film. And then I also pitched to my network to like contribute crowdfunding, I guess. And that's how we put together the budget of the film.
That's really dope. That's really amazing. Also, just myself being a filmmaker who is also from another field, it's interesting to hear that. And I know a few other filmmakers who are primarily in other fields and then come into filmmaking and leveraging such opportunities. Can you tell me a bit more about that also, like having a finance background, what you're comfortable sharing, obviously. What did that entail? What did that look like? And then pitching to that side of the world for something that's in film.
Yes.
What's that journey like?
Yeah, so I used to be in investment banking. And I mean, sometimes I'm like, oh, man, life was easier.
Right?
But I really had a strong passion for film, and it was really itching at me. But what I took from my time there is understanding how financiers think. And so, but I won't lie, it's not like I've pitched first time and it was easy, because what I found is a lot of companies don't feel comfortable with film because they're like, oh, it's so risky, you know. And so the easiest way to get company money for film is if you go through, not like you're trying to pay the money back to them, but if you go through their marketing budget, so you say, this film is going to reach these audiences, so it's kind of like marketing, or you go through their, what do you call it, CSI, Corporate Social Investment Department, where they're giving back to the arts, you know. So, I mean, a lot of companies are doing that now, like with the what's this, Latitudes Art Fair and Joburg, F&B Joburg Art Fair, you know, they're starting to do that kind of thing. And I think that's through their corporate social investments or their marketing budgets. Yeah. So I learned those kinds of things and like, okay, how to approach them, from which angle.
That's great. That's really, it's a lot. Pitching is a huge part of filmmaking.
Yeah.
And, you know, trying to get the film made, you kind of have to have the money to make the film in the first place.
Yeah.
And then getting the money has remained the most elusive thing in this industry for decades at this point.
Yeah.
So it's always interesting when you can hear how other filmmakers are finding their way around systems, and especially with funding. So thank you very much for sharing that. And then from there, you fully produce it yourself. Or
No,
I do know that Layla Swart and Yellowbone Entertainment were involved in producing. So can you break that down for us? What does that look like?
Yes. So I had raised the money, and then I had been introduced to Layla, I think, a year before that, and I had shadowed on one of her films. So I'd asked her, hey, look, I'm looking for more experience on set, and she said, okay, you can come and shadow.
Which film?
Queen's Sound Kings. So I shadowed
nice.
Jamil, and so I had started developing a relationship with her then, and then I worked with her on developing a feature film. And then while I was working with her on that, I was like, look, I know you're super busy, But I'm really looking for help to make this short film.
Yeah.
And I asked, can you help me? And she said yes. Yeah. So so that's how that came about. Yeah.
It's always great when you bump into other, for lack of a better word, veterans in the industry who are, willing to lend a helping hand, give insight, support, and having a relationship with Layla. She's a fantastic person, even just for advice or any type of insight. So it's good to hear that she was able to come through for you.
Yeah, I'm super grateful because she's very busy.
She's extremely busy. She's extremely busy. And what role did your previous film play in prepping you for this one?
Right. So my previous film, it's called Laguchonilanga. It was my thesis at film school, and it did very well. Yeah, beyond what I expected actually. So it won a Student Academy Award and was shortlisted for the Oscars, and that opened up a whole bunch of doors. And so I was able to get into rooms to pitch that I wouldn't have otherwise. And that's also how I was able to get access to people like Leila, because for example, she said, oh, I've seen your short film. I saw it at this festival,
Yeah.
So, so one of the things that I learned from that time, because it's like when if you have a film that does well, you also have to kind of ride on the wave and be strategic about how you're going to use it. So I used that to help me get to doors that were previously closed. Yeah. And to get to pitch. And that's how, I eventually got to working with Layla. And then also, even now, what I'm more strategic about is if I have another film, I will have my own private screening, and I'll invite people that I'd like to network with, to see it, so that it's helping to open the next door as well. Yeah. So I've started trying to be more strategic about how I move with my films. Yeah.
I wanted to ask specifically, can you mention for people watching also, because it's mostly also filmmakers that watch Black Out Loud, is what would you say is being strategic? Because I've been in programs and even in situations where I'm with other filmmakers that have great films. And in my head, I'm sitting and I'm like, it doesn't make sense, the type of film you have and the type of person you are and where your career is at this moment. And I'm sure other people have felt the same way about me. So it's one of those things where when you're sitting from outside and you outside looking in, you're like, oh, if that was me, I would have done this and this and this and this. So what are, outside of hosting your own screenings and inviting the type of, which I have another question for that, by the way, hosting your screenings and inviting the type of people you want, because there's also, you learn as you do it, getting the people to actually show up even after they've RSVP'd is a whole other thing in and of itself.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But what other strategies would you say, or tips you'd give other filmmakers? Like, hey man, if you already have the film, which is already, you're halfway through it.
Yes.
Here's what you might want to think about doing with it.
So okay, I definitely think attending festivals, whether you have a film or not, has been super helpful to me, because it's the best way to just get to learn the lay of the land, get to meet people. And then also what I do at these festivals is I try to make sure I'm also following up with people that I've met that I want to, maybe either get advice from or potentially pitch to or anything like that. So I try and pay attention to, okay, who are all the producers, who are, these people, and then I try to, people who I want to meet, I invite them for a coffee, and I follow up, and then and it's also an easier way to get people to watch your work as well, now that you've met them, you're like, can I send you my project? This is how well my project did, and all of that, and then it's a bit easier. So that's what I do, and then also, following up as well. Like if you send somebody your film and they haven't watched it, it's like, oh, I'm so keen to hear what you think of the film, you know, and all of that. And then what I do, so the one where I say I was networking, so I did that with my own private screening, but also with festival screenings. So if it's at a festival, then I will tell, like, you know, whichever producers I'm trying to network with, hey, my film is playing here at this time.
Yeah.
Please come and see it, and that kind of thing. What else do I do?
And what would you say for, and this is just a, you know, for because a lot of filmmakers aren't the most social people.
I'm not either. Like I'm an introvert and I'm very reserved. So that's why, like,
I think even better
Yeah.
because you have more relevant insights in terms of, okay, being an introvert and being a person who, ideally, if I don't have to talk to you, may I not, you
Yes,
know,
yes.
and then being a filmmaker at the same time, which is closed mouths don't get fed.
yes.
How do you, yeah,
Yeah.
how do you then get to that balance as an introvert where, look, what are your tips and tricks for, you know,
Yeah.
when you go into a festival and you're like, I really don't want to speak to anybody today. I just like
Yes.
to watch some movies, but you're like, I have to speak to as many people as possible, or the right people at least.
Yeah. So the way I have resolved it for myself is that the first thing is, like you said, closed mouths don't get fed. Like, it's just something you have to do for your career. You know, but it's not unique to us, because in every career, you know, it requires you to step out of your comfort zone in order to grow, in order to progress. So it's just one of those things of, okay, as a filmmaker, this is not my comfort zone, but I have to step out to grow. But then the second thing is like, okay, with it, how do I do it in a way that's like within my personality? You know, I can't just go and pretend to be an extrovert,
yeah.
you know? And so, because people, when they think about networking, they think,
Being charismatic.
yeah, being charismatic, outgoing, talking to so many people, like having met a bunch of people. But for me, as an introvert, that would drain my energy so much, you know. So what I do is I'm like, if I have one meaningful conversation today at this festival, that's enough for me. Or if and I also I don't do things that I feel like are unnatural to me. So if I hear somebody in a Q&A, so for example at Durban Film Art, and you have those seminars, even at JBX talks,
Yeah.
so I hear somebody asking an interesting question. So then I'll be like, oh, I want to speak to that person. They ask something that I'm interested in. And or if somebody on the panel says something that I want to know more about, you know, then I'll go to them afterwards and I'll speak. And then if I'm brave enough, I'll say, can I have coffee with you? So it's more like that. It's like I know how to do one-on-one things with things that I feel I'm being genuine in. So I have a genuine interest,
Yeah.
you know. But I can't just go and say and speak to 10 people and pitch myself to 10 people, you know. I can just do one at a time. Yeah. So that's how I know I feel like I've had a successful day if I've had one meaningful conversation or met one new person in a meaningful way.
That's a really nice way of looking at it and even approaching it in general.
Yeah.
Because it is something, and I mean, it takes a long time for filmmakers to even ever talk to each other about that. Like,
Yeah.
you know, what is networking? How do you network? And at first you start out with the arrogance of, I'm not gonna bother myself with this, you know. You try it a few times, it doesn't work out. But as time goes by, you start seeing it's quite costly to not open your mouth in the right spaces.
Yeah.
You know. And sometimes the opportunity was right there and maybe you were either too scared to, you know, And so that's why I was even asking that question. But how do you then go from your investment banking? What is the thing that then kicks you out and makes you be like, all right, I'm doing this. I'm taking the leap, because it's a huge leap.
Yeah.
And then the longer you stay in a corporate environment, the more difficult it becomes to leave, because a bunch of things, money.
Yes, mostly money. Yeah, it was hard. It took me 3 years from the moment I decided I wanted to take the leap to actually doing it. It took me 3 years because I was
Yeah.
so scared. Because it is.
3 years, what, you're still working?
Yeah, I'm
but
still
one
working.
foot in, one foot out.
Yeah, I'm dabbling in film.
Yeah.
I'm going to festivals. I'm meeting people. I'm doing short courses, but I'm still working. And the thing that made me eventually take the leap was, I think it was 3 a.m. and I was working on a spreadsheet for work, and I was like, yo, if I'm killing myself like this for something I don't even believe in, like, the work was interesting, but I didn't feel passionate about it. And it didn't feel meaningful.
What had caused that?
What?
The lack of passion in the work? Because I mean, you did study, and
I did study it. So I was good at maths, and I found economics interesting. And then my parents' friends advised me to do finance. Yeah.
Okay.
And while I was studying it and working, I did find aspects of it interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I didn't find it, I didn't feel like me killing myself every day, giving 150% of myself, being up at 3 a.m. on a spreadsheet was something. It didn't feel like something I wanted to give myself away to in that way. And I felt like if I'm going to work this hard, I want it to be something that I'm really passionate about and I feel is really meaningful to me. So that kind of helped me with like feeling a bit more comfortable with the switch. And then also because no matter what I did, because I ended up actually in the 3 years, I changed jobs because I thought, oh, all I need is just like a new job.
Yeah.
You know, something fresh, you know, that's what this itch is.
Yeah.
And I went and I changed jobs and and the itch was still there.
If you don't mind, what did you do?
I went into management consulting, which is like, I don't know if people know that. It's basically like where you give advice to businesses on their business issues. Yeah. And that was also interesting for a time. So I guess even, okay, with finance, with that, it's like interesting for a time. But then there's this itch that starts to come. So that I had that as well. And so I felt like, okay, it's not a new job thing.
Yeah.
It's the film thing. And then I did like an internship while working. I did like a part-time internship with a production company, helping them here and there. And while I was doing that, I felt like, oh my gosh, I actually really have to be here. Yeah, I was like, this is where I have to be. And so that...
What did you start off as in the internship?
I was just doing development and like assistant producer, and I was basically wanting to switch into that full time. So that helped with the transition. So I was like, okay, at least I know something that I can go do. Now I have to be willing to take a huge pay cut. And also I have to be willing to know that the journey is not as clear. Yeah, as in corporate, because in corporate, you know, like this is how I climbed the ladder. These are the steps that I take.
Yeah. You even on a daily basis, you know, as long as I do this, I'm in the clear. If I do more than this, that puts me in the Yes.
But in the arts, there's not like one clear journey, you know. So yeah. But then one of my friends actually, because I consulted with mentors and friends, and one of my friends at the time said to me, you tend to, so when people look back at their life, they tend to regret things they didn't do rather than things that they did. And that helped me a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
At least I'm glad you took that leap.
Yo,
It's a very difficult one to take, but
yeah.
you know, 2 amazing films later, and here we are.
Thank
I'm sure even
you.
when you look back,
Yeah.
at the scary nights and scary moments. Was there any crash landing? You know, you take the leap, sometimes you don't stick the landing, and you kind of have to climb out of that hole.
Many.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't lie. It's because, it's not an easy journey, right? And so there have been many moments where I felt like, did I do the right thing? This is so hard. Like, it's like even there's times when bills have been hard to pay, and so I have in those dark moments been like, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing, But the thing that keeps me going is, I don't know, I guess like filmmakers, we have this addiction. Yeah, it's an addiction. Who was I speaking to about that earlier?
Yeah.
The lady that escorted me in. Yeah, it's a bug and you can't shake it off for some reason. Yeah, so that's
You'll be in the thick of it, going through a nightmare, and in your head, you're like, why did I even put myself in? Like, because the thing is, nobody asked you.
Nobody
to do
asked
anything
you.
you're
Yes.
doing. Like,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you regret it, and you're fighting with yourself. But before you even done, you think about the next one. You're like,
Exactly. It's funny because I remember seeing this interview with Sofia Coppola. She had just made this movie about Elvis Presley's wife. And she was saying, every time they asked her, how do you feel after finishing the movie? She's like, every time she finishes a movie, she says, I'm never doing that again. And then her friends are like, you'll change your mind in a few months' time. She's like, I'm never putting myself through that again. And then a year or two later, she's back making another one. Yeah.
Speaking of that, it's such a grueling process, making a film, regardless of how big, small, budget, no budget.
Yeah.
Do you, when you're done, and I assume it's different for every filmmaker. What is that feeling like? Like from the minute you say wrap, like this is picture wrap, we're done. Sometimes you might have to jump immediately into post, sometimes you don't have to, it depends on the project. But what is that like to you? Can you, whether mentally, emotionally, physically, Scorsese talks about he never finishes a film without falling like seriously ill, like sick,
Right.
physically ill,
Yeah, I usually have some version of burnout afterwards. And emotionally, I'm always relieved that I'm like, oh my gosh, thank God it's over. Yeah.
How long does it take before you can look at the footage? Do you have that?
I do. I'm usually scared to look at the footage because after you've put yourself through that grueling journey, it's like, is it even what I think it is, So it takes me a while and I have so much anxiety, even like when the editor's like, okay, I've done the assembly or the first cut. It usually takes me a few days to muster up the courage.
Really?
Yeah, because of that anxiety. But I recently had an experience on a TV show where the broadcaster wanted us to do assemblies every day. So, and initially I was so scared about that because I was like, oh my gosh, every day we're going to see, what we've done and what's wrong with it and all of that. But after overcoming that anxiety, it ended up being so helpful.
I can imagine, because it brings you so closer to reviewing.
Yes.
This is while you're still
While you're
shooting,
still
right?
shooting,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's quite helpful, I think.
Yeah, it was so helpful. So that process has made me less afraid of like assembly cuts.
Will you be trying to incorporate it into how you work going forward in any way, shape, or form?
I would love to.
Yeah.
I'd love to because what it does is you have a strong sense of where you're at, what's missing, if you have the style that you envisioned you have. And if you don't, you're able to pivot and be like, okay, this is what we're able to do. Let's lean into it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think it's an expensive thing to have because it means that you have an editor working like while you're shooting, and that means like just more time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what sorry, got thrown off a little bit. I had a question which is with all of that and just the struggle, what were you mentioned when we are at Heat Seekers, that similar experience of I've made the film, can I just take a break?
Oh,
It took a lot
yes.
out of me.
Yeah.
What did it look like? How many days, first of all, did you shoot?
We shot 4.5 days.
4.5 days.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
really impressive.
Yeah, it was a nice chunk of time, but we really needed it because, firstly, working with the cows was really hard. So we knew that we were going to need extra time. And then also the terrain we were working in was very, very difficult. So we knew it was going to take us long to navigate it, to lug equipment over hills
Yeah.
and all of that. And then the weather was really bad as well. So there would be times where we're waiting 2 hours for the rain to stop. Yeah, so it feels like luxurious amount of time, but we needed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in when that happens, whenever you hit a snag, as a director, you're going through a lot of things in your head.
Yeah.
Can you take us through that? Like
when-
whenever you face these delays, whether it's weather, but you have that moment where you could be working, but you can't work for a specific reason,
Yes. Yeah, it's very
especially when you're
stressful.
chasing time.
When you're chasing time, yeah, it's very stressful. But I guess in that time, I'm thinking, okay, what do I still have to shoot? How can I maybe reduce my shot list or setups, but still achieve what I want? So that's kind of what I'm thinking during that time.
Were there a lot of those sacrifices in Why the Cats Will Wait?
Yes. Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you were just speaking about post shooting the film and how you feel about it.
Yes.
But like, I just want to, I'm just curious about whilst in the midst, like of it, how do you cope and how are you? Is like, okay, is it coming together? Is it falling apart? What gets you through that process from day to day while shooting, or even just after the first day of rap or the second day of rap?
Okay.
Yeah.
Specifically the shoot or shoot and post?
No, just
the
shoot.
shoot.
Yeah.
Well, for shoots, to be honest, I think it's adrenaline. Yeah, I think because it's so exhausting, being on set. I mean, at least for me, because you're constantly on your feet. It's like a 16-hour work day, I guess. You're prepping for the next day, and while also reviewing what you've done, you are not getting enough sleep. So I feel like it's adrenaline, but I was also really worried about burning out. So what I would try and do is make sure that even though you want a snack and stuff on set, is making sure that I'm trying to eat properly, and drinking a lot of water and stuff like that, because I just didn't want to burn out. And prayer, got me through it. Speaking to loved ones while at the end of rap to just like vent, those things got me through. But it is very tough. It is very tough. So you have to find little ways to take care of yourself when you can. And I think like eating properly and speaking to people that care about you helped me. Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know if that's good enough.
No. Yeah, it does help, because I feel like you can lose your mind, because you're exhausted. Is the film coming together?
Yes.
And all of those things where now you're even thinking about post and things
Yes.
that are going wrong in them. It's like you're in the middle of a storm,
Yes.
trying to kind of like weather the storm, but
Yes,
not
yes.
also like lose yourself. But I feel like you've answered adequately.
Yeah, but I also like it's hard to be worried about post while you're shooting, right? So it's almost like, excuse me, you have to be here and trust that you're gonna do enough to get you there, and also when you're in post, because like what I've learned now with my recent films is in post, it's another rewriting, right? You write with the screenplay, you write when you shoot, and you write when you edit. So trusting that you will have the ability to recraft the story, even if it's not what you had originally imagined. Yeah.
No, thank you.
What are some of the sacrifices you found yourself making due to challenges?
You're bringing back memories. um, so there were some things that we had wanted to do in the film where we just ran out of light. Like, so there was, I don't know if I should tell the audience, because then maybe they'll be like, oh no, I wish that was there.
Please do. Please do. We love those.
But one of the things that we were trying to show is Nomvula. Her power is, one of the things she does is she brings rain. And it's normally when she's in distress. Yes. And so we had this moment at the end where she walks towards the ocean in distress. And we had a rain rig thing
Yeah.
that we had to put up to make it rain as she walks in.
Yeah.
But we ran out of light.
Oh,
Yeah. We ran out of light. And that broke my heart,
Yeah.
hey. Yo, because I was like, oh.
but there is a scene that, I mean, essentially carries that kind of takes care of that. There's a rain scene.
I hope
where
so.
she's-
Yeah, there is one
She
rain
is in
scene.
an emotional state.
Yes,
And she's
yeah.
speaking to. Okay, so would have been nice to see it, but I mean, you guys did a fantastic job either way.
Thank you.
You guys did a really, really fantastic. Is there anything else? And how did you account for, like when you're in post, how did you work around that rewriting? What are some of those rewrites that you found yourself making later?
Yes. So there is something else that also haunted me when we wrapped.
Yeah.
And that was there's a time when Tandiwe is looking for his family through the huts. And we ran out of time to get his POV to show the huts are empty, right? And it was haunting me. I was like, oh no, we didn't show that they're empty. But then luckily we found that it was enough to see him look in and react. And it's okay that we didn't see, and it was enough that he saw his own hut empty. So that's something that I found that just by the way we cut it, we could get away with it. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's really nice. Speaking of Nomvula and the rain, but also just her powers, she transforms in the film a few times into different types of animals: cow, hawk or falcon.
Hawk. Yes.
What's the significance of the transformation, and is there any symbolism behind that? Is there a reason she chooses to be one animal instead of another, or is it based on the context of wherever she is at the moment and who she needs to communicate with?
So, okay, how did I come up with the transforming? I think it was, I saw one of the people who inspired this film and how I approached it was the artist Nandip Mtambo. And she does sculpture. And I saw an exhibition of hers where she had cow hides that were in the shape of women. And yeah, and I liked that idea, and it stuck with me. And then I saw another one of hers where she had this woman that she was like half goat, half woman, but she had horns, and then she had fur, but she was also a woman, and so she was like, I guess, mid transformation. And I think those ideas stuck with me. And when I was thinking of Nomvula, I was like, ooh, you know, deities or spirits in a lot of African folklore, they do shapeshift. You know, it is part of like our stories of these shape-shifting beings. And so that's kind of what inspired the shape-shifting. And the specific animals, it was because I was using cows in this kind of like spiritual sense as well. So her relationship to the cows was because of that, because of the spiritual and cultural significance that the cows were having in the story. And then the bird, it was more so she could have like a, because I was playing with this idea of like the ground and the sky. I don't know how to explain it, but so to show her relationship with the earth was you show it through the ground, and that's the cows, and you also show it through the sky.
Yeah.
Yes, and it shows that her ability to have this like overview of things. Yeah.
Sort of like an omnipresence. Yeah.
Yes.
That's really,
Oh,
really
thank you.
okay. Sorry, I just, because now I'm going back to the film and I'm really like, thinking about it. What other things, I had another question I wanted to ask. What are the things that when you are finding yourself pressed for time, under a time crunch, where you find yourself prioritizing more? With me, I'm an editor, so I always I know you said you don't always think about post when you're shooting.
I probably
Yeah,
should.
I've kind of been trained to always think about post, because when the time is, the clock is ticking, I'm now thinking about, okay, what can I not do without? Everything else ticks, it's this, so that at least I have something to
Yes.
put together later, even if it's not to the standard I would like for it to be. So with you, what are the things that you find yourself being like, I cannot compromise on this, and this is what I need to focus on during these times?
So normally when I put together my short list, I know what are the essentials. Like the scene won't work without these, and then what are the nice to haves. Yeah. So what I do is when I'm crunched for time, I'm like, okay, these three were bonus shots anyway. We have to get these ones. Yeah. So that's kind of how I do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And is it only shot driven, or is performance also another thing? Like, how do you interact with your actor in that moment?
Right. Oh, yeah, it's so hard when you're crunched for time and you're trying to get a good performance. Yeah. So I will also think of that. I'm like, I have to, there's this moment where if I don't see that, then the scene falls flat. Or, yeah, so I do think of those as well. So I think of it from a shot perspective, and I think of it from a performance perspective, like what emotional beat is critical to see. Yeah, so then I make sure I focus on that. So if I'm only allowed to, not allowed, but if I can only afford to have one or two takes, maybe on other parts of the scene, this one I will be like, no, we need another take. We need,
What speaking of takes, what were you averaging when you were shooting? I mean, it's 4 days. It's not
On
enough.
this
So
one, on this one, we were crunched for time, so max 2, 3, which is
oh
not
my
great.
okay.
Yeah. But sometimes on bigger stuff, like we would get to 5. But yeah, I like to spend more time normally. But yeah, on this one, it was something I was struggling with like, yo, I really want to spend more time crafting performance and feeling, and also the actors feeling like they're getting enough time. And you know, feeling like if they feel like, oh, I just want one more take, you know, being able to give them that. But yeah, we were
Did
crunched.
you have somewhat of a bit of a luxury on Laguchanilang when it comes to that?
I had a bit
Yeah.
more.
How long
Yeah,
did you guys shoot that
so
for?
we shot that for 5 days. Also 4.5 days. Yeah, yeah. So that one, and that one is shorter. So 4.5 days is a bit of is time enough for it. And that one, yeah, I could do lots of takes to craft and refine and all of that, and I could do the interesting artistic shot that takes time to
Setup,
do, and yeah.
And what process do you go through with your actors when you start, like from the beginning? I'm talking in prep. How do you go about, you know, going through the script, rehearsals, and whatnot?
So normally I'll meet with them and like have a coffee or a lunch, and we'll talk about the vision for the character, and we'll talk about what questions they have or ideas that they have that they want to bring to the character. So that's the first thing that I'll do. And then the next thing is we'll do rehearsals, which are more kind of exploring the character. So I'm not necessarily doing scenes, but I'm improvising things, or I'm doing like character exercises, and I'm trying to build chemistry between characters with those
When you
exercises.
say character exercises, can you elaborate a bit?
So, for example, there's this one exercise that I really like from film school, which is when you're trying to build chemistry between two characters, you put them in a, like how we're sitting at chairs opposite each other, but closer, almost like their knees touching, and then each of them tell the other what they think of the other's character, and it's like a back and forth. Sparring off each other, that to look into each other's eyes. And that's a really interesting way for them to build character. I mean, chemistry.
How long does that exercise go for usually?
I usually run it for like 10, 15 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. And it works.
I think so. Yeah. I think so. But then you can also do it in a different way where I think it's Meisner's technique, where each character says something about themselves. They'll say like, I am confident. And then the other person says, you are confident. And then they say something about themselves and the other person repeats them. Or the character says something about the other one, like, you are questioning. And then the other one repeats it and says, I am questioning. Yeah, whether they believe it or not.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting way for them each to see how the other sees their character. Yeah.
I've never heard of especially the second one. I've never heard of that. So, Phumi, before we carry on, we do have a segment here. It's a quick fire round.
Okay.
I'm gonna fire some questions to you, and the aim here is for you to answer with the first thing that comes into your mind.
Okay.
First thing, now not one word, or one word.
Okay.
I have 6 questions
Okay.
for you, and the first one is one word to describe this film, Why the Cattle Wait.
Sure. I would say memory.
Memory.
Mm.
Okay. I mean, I guess here it wouldn't be one word, it would just be one folk tale, but a folk tale every child should know.
I guess let me not elaborate. It's one word. I'd say the one about Umamlambo.
Oh, okay.
Interesting, yeah.
But please elaborate.
I love the idea of water and water beings and water spirits. So that's my favorite.
Now I have another question. A filmmaker who inspires you. Impossible
okay,
question,
I'll choose Osman Semben.
but Osman. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What scares you creatively?
Yo. That scares me creatively. What scares me creatively? It's a very hard question. I guess doing irrelevant work.
That's a yeah. My answer was going to be making work stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
And what keeps you creating?
What keeps me creating? Just a love and obsession with stories. Yeah.
And then, if Nomvula existed today, where would she be?
Oh. Where would she be? She'd still be on the beach waiting.
Okay. And then I had a question that was triggered by one of these questions, or rather by one of your answers. You'd mentioned land and sky, but right now you just mentioned water also and your fascination with that. Did you ever think of exploring all three in the film? And is there a reason why you were like, maybe not?
There's a sad reason, which is to do with what gets cut in post. Yes. So the water part of the film was so incredibly hard to shoot because the ocean, we did shoot it. The ocean was so rough. It was so rough the day. And the day before when we scouted the spot, it was calm, fine. And the day that we shot, it was so rough. So it was very hard to get the shots right.
Yeah.
And when we're looking at them in post, we're like, it's
Can't
not
use this.
working.
But you got all the shots you needed.
We got the shots we needed, but no, we didn't, because one of them, the actress was so overwhelmed by the waves, we couldn't even get it. So, yeah. And we had a lifeguard beside her. I was in the water with her.
Yeah.
And I was also like, the lifeguard was also like, yeah, no, it's
Not there,
too
yeah.
rough. Yeah.
And then what is the third animal she probably transforms into when there's water involved?
No, she just comes out of the water looking like she's part of the ocean. So she's got like seaweed and shells and yeah.
Is it a wink and at mermaidism?
It's more a wink at Umamlambo and yes, and water spirits.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really, really nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I once had this idea a while ago. I was like, if I ever am rich enough in my life, I want to find all the lost tapes of everything I like and make a whole show where I collect every episode is just a different lost tapes. And it would be nice to have an episode where we get to see that footage one day if that ever happens.
Yeah.
But it would be nice. It would be nice to just see, even if the footage wasn't usable, to just see that, because I had no idea you guys did explored water in the film, which also speaks to how well the film came together regardless.
Thank you.
So I'd really love to see that. Have a few more questions here. We spoke about this one a bit off camera. I don't know if you would like to answer it. Why do you think cattle holds such an emotional place and sacred place in the Nguni culture?
I mean, it's hard to answer that one because it's something that predates us, right? It's something that's always been in Nguni culture. We kind of were born into cattle being significant spiritually, culturally. transfer in symbolizing wealth and all of that. So it's more, in my mind, it's more a given, and I don't know why. I don't have the explanation of why. But I do have a fun fact that when I was exploring the significance of cattle in Nguni culture, I came across, so in Xhosa, in the Xhosa language, they actually used to have a way to distinguish the different patterns on the Nguni cows. And they had like, so the English translation of what they said is like, is the eyes of the lark, the gaps between tree branches and whatever. And that's actually what Nomvula says at the beginning of the film. Yes, yeah. So that's what she's talking about. She's basically saying, I'm part of the cattle. Yeah. So that's like a hidden
That's
thing.
fire. That's because it's absolutely something I've asked myself. Like, I wonder where did the poem come from?
Yes.
Because it sounds like a poem. It is, it's poetry.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Wow, that's dope. That's really dope. We've covered. Oh yes. Can we talk a little bit about the conversations you had with your cinematographer and your production designer? Because it is a very, very lived-in world. It's a very specific and unique world. And it does the thing that, ideally, especially those two positions are exactly supposed to do is the minute you lay eyes on the frame, you're supposed to immediately forget you're watching a film. And the entire time, there's no point where, you're pulled out of the experience. So what did that conversation look like with your DP and your PD?
So what it looked like is I wanted us to feel, firstly, I wanted it to feel like grounded fantasy, not fantastical and no special effects and things like that. So I was constantly speaking to my team of how do we make it feel like it's like you can touch it, and even like the way she transforms and stuff. She can't be having the special effects transformation and stuff like that. So how do we get that across? And also with sound, I was also spending a lot of time, like my sound designer would say, can you collect recordings of when we went on Scouts? Can you collect the recording of what the world there sounds like, And we decide like, will we use that or not? And where we shot in Port Edward, it just sounds like alive. Like it sounds like a jungle, actually, And so I wanted it to feel like the natural world, which is what Nomvula is also a part of. I wanted to feel very much the main thing in the story. Like we must feel the world, we must feel the environment. Even the colors we use, they need to be what would be natural. Even the Xhosa outfits are ochre, actually, which is what traditional Xhosa outfits would have been made out of like ochre, that ochre color, which is a natural color. So yeah, everything needed to feel like it was in the natural world. Yeah.
Oh, that's really nice. What was the most challenging aspects of the film to tackle when it came to the cinematography, but also the production design? What was kind of like not coming together the way you wanted it to? Or maybe it did come together, but like it was a challenge.
So one thing that did come together but was a challenge was the village that Tandiwe lives in. That one was, the production design team ended up having to build it from scratch, which was wild because they didn't have a lot of time. But, because initially they wanted to rent huts because there had been a bunch of shows at the time that were using hats, and they wanted to rent them and change them to Xhosa style.
Yeah.
But they had either been sold or had been dismantled. So basically they had to build these huts from scratch. And
How long did it take?
I think they did it in like 10 days, which is phenomenal given how many there were.
Yeah.
And then another thing that was challenging, you said from a cinematography and production design perspective. So this was a challenge that ended up working in our favor. So we thought that it was going to be extremely sunny. And then it was overcast and raining all week. But what ended up happening is we decided to lean into that to make the film have this like somber mood. Yeah. So, because we had this idea of, okay, we'll use the lights in this way and all of that. But then we're like, no, everything is going to feel somber. And that's what we'll lean into. So that ended up working.
You can feel that even in the poster, the one with the cattle.
Yes.
Like from the title, you look at the picture, then you look at the world, and you're like, kind of like I already feel like I'm in there already.
I'm glad.
So yeah, and that actually even answers another question that I had, but wasn't going to be able to get to. So okay. Oh, sound, I imagine, was a nightmare.
Yeah, it was hard because, especially when we're next to the ocean, that was very, very hard. But we had a good sound team who was constantly communicating, and we were able to find ways around the different aspects that were hard. So it ended up being okay in post. Yeah.
Did you guys do any ADR? Or have to do it?
No, the only ADR we did was the voiceover poem.
Okay.
Oh no, actually, we did some ADR to change some of the things that were said, but not because sound was an issue.
Oh, but was it like a script change?
Yeah, like a
dialogue change.
a script change that we needed to have to like make something come across more clearly. Yeah. Oh. But maybe more dialogue than script. So it's not a story change, but it's like clarifying through dialogue.
Okay. I imagine shooting at the beach is not the best set necessarily.
It was difficult because, the beach sand is so hard to walk on. So now people are carrying equipment on that sand. It was very difficult.
And cows there.
And cows. Another difficult thing for cinematography actually was the animals. Because, so what we had to do, I think I mentioned this at Heat Seekers, is we had to, I spoke to the cinematographer that whenever we're waiting for an actor to arrive or something to move or whatever, let's just grab B-roll of cows doing things that look human-like. Yeah, so what I spoke to her about and my whole team is we want the cows we want to personify them. We want to make them seem human-like, but also like God-like. And so let's shoot them like doing things that make them look like they have a perspective. Yeah, or are thinking so she did that. And then also with the bird, we had to be very strategic because the bird is not going to do much but fly from one point to the next or sit somewhere. Yeah. So we had to be very intentional about, how do we, instead of shifting what the bird does, how do we shift what the other actors do in relation to what the bird is able to give us? Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting. And are these, you anticipated some of these things?
No.
Or
With the bird, I had no idea until we got to set, and the bird wrangler's like, by the way, this is how this bird works. So, and you can't get more than 3 takes with the bird because the way to get them to move from one point to the next is with food. And then they get full. You're done. Yeah.
there's no backup bird.
There's no backup bird. One bird alone was like expensive and also stressful to deal with because the bird, like there's all these things like, don't make noise next to the bird, you're going to scare it and then it's going to fly off. Or we can't shoot the bird like too close to the ocean or the winds will carry it off. Like the bird wrangler had lost a bird before that was carried off into the ocean and couldn't fly back. Oh. Yeah. So yeah, the bird was stressful because we always worried like, is it gonna come back? Yeah.
Oh my goodness! And you mentioned the bird was expensive. How much was it?
Oh, ish. Okay, I don't remember, but it's something I can get for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I don't remember at the top of my head.
It's always interesting to find out. Like recently, I was on production and I found out how the props master, the one who deals with firearms, I found out how they charge. And at some point, sometimes depending on the agreement, they charge per bullet. And
Oh,
if
per
not
bullet. Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
per
hectic.
round. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this is how everybody works, but that specific one,
Yes.
they charge per bullet, and I think it's like 7,000 something per bullet.
Hectic,
Granted,
that's
this
a
is not.
lot.
I'm not saying this is what
Yes.
everybody's charging, but it was just like, okay.
That's a lot.
I imagine there's like global agreements where it's like, okay, we're probably gonna fire 100 shots. We're not gonna be able to pay you 700,000.
Right.
Let's find something that makes sense. But
Yes.
it's always interesting because there's also that, like, people don't know, you know, in the world of filmmaking, how much things cost. Even sometimes
Exactly.
people who are in filmmaking themselves.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
that's,
but that's something I can get for you. I just don't remember at the top of my head because it was 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and the reason why it was expensive is because we could only get that bird from Cape Town, so they had to travel with the bird, and then because now the bird was crossing borders. Each border it crosses, you have to get a license for it to be in that. Yeah, so we had to pay for license fees for it to cross different provinces. Yeah. Yeah. So, and those things you only find out in the moment as you're going, you know, like, how far are you getting the bird here? Oh, there's this fee. And it's like, what? We didn't budget for that, but okay. So, yeah.
Oh my goodness. I had no idea. Okay, I didn't know about the borders thing. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think it's because like it's got something to do with like bringing non-native or indigenous animals into specific regions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe they need to be tracked, and you need to pay the fee of like the risk of bringing a non-indigenous creature. Yeah. But there was also like on the thing of non-indigenous animals, like because the bird was not from where we were shooting, there were some scary moments where other birds would circle around it. Yes, and so there are
really?
times where we'd be like, okay, we have to stop shooting now because these other birds are gearing to attack.
There's no way you can.
Yeah,
predict
there's
that.
no way. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, the bird was more of a headache than I thought it was. Okay. And then the few international collaborators you have on the film, if I'm not mistaken, the editor is. How did you guys approach that? Was it remote? Are they based in South Africa? And what does that relationship look like? Also, did you forge the relationship while you were still in the States?
So that was my friend from film school, and he was just like a friend or an editor that we had such a good rapport and shorthand that I wanted to just keep working with him on future projects. And we ended up doing it remotely, and we would have like a video call where he shows me his screen, and then that's how we would have our editing sessions.
And the entire thing was remote.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're a better person than me.
No, do you know what? It's funny because I learned that from COVID because Laguchani Langa that happened, and we were all at film school, couldn't meet, so we just had to do remote editing.
He also
He
edited
also
like
edited, yeah. So I learned it from that time. So I was like, oh, we've done it before. It's okay. Yeah.
Okay, when you put it like that, and especially it's someone you have a relationship with, I can see it. I can absolutely see that happen. So you've explained your background, and you know, the benefit it has brought to your filmmaking journey, especially on the financial end of things. But specifically how did you go about raising funds for the film? And then not just raising funds for the film, but like as the writer, director, and producer, when you're wearing that many hats, especially when you're a director and the producer, you think as a director, but then you have to rein yourself in as the producer.
Yeah.
What was that like, especially when you're dealing with the finances of the film?
Yes.
At every phase.
Okay, so the production financing was the National Film and Video Foundation (PESP) funding, as well as I had pitched to a company as well to put money into it, and then and that was through like my finance background, and then I had also raised, like, I guess crowdfunding, you would say, through my network. So I'd ask people in my network to contribute. And then Layla and Yellowbone also put money in as producers. And yeah, that's how we raised the funding. And then, producer, director head. So yeah, you do have to, it is a hard thing to straddle, right? Because the director wants to dream and then the producer's like, this is how much we have. So I had to, so what I normally do is I will think of what my dream is, and then I will switch and put the producer hat on and say, given what we have, this is how I can achieve some of that. Yeah. So that's how I would do that. But then when we were on set, I had to hand over to Layla and her team because I just couldn't. It was such a grueling shoot. I couldn't have the producer hat on during it. Yeah. So whatever fires were being fought, like I can't, like you tell me when it's like very critical, but I can't be involved in every little thing. Otherwise, I won't be able to deliver on the creative aspect. Yeah.
And then just on the producing end of things, can you speak a little bit more about ownership of your IP, the story, the film in and of itself, the master copy? What are the details? What do the details look like on that side for you? Because quite often than not, if you need anything made, you reach out to someone, and it's usually there where the ownership can then slip either from you to them, or there could be a shared ownership.
Yes.
Sometimes it's very mutual, sometimes it's predatory. But can you speak a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely as soon as somebody's putting money in or being a co-producer, you start to give away ownership. So definitely with myself and Layla, we co-own the project because we both put money in. The company that I pitched to didn't want equity in the film itself, but they wanted to do it as an investment in my production company. Yes. Okay. So they have equity now in my production company. And then I guess people will know that the NFVF, it's a grant. Yeah. So it's obviously ideal just to have grant funding because then you don't have to give away ownership. But even if you have grant funding and you bring in a producer, because that producer is also putting in work, they need to have ownership as well. So I think it's just the nature of making films. It's so collaborative that you end up sharing the ownership of it. Yeah.
And with the other company that invested in your production company, does this mean now you'll continue to have a relationship with them with your next projects?
I am trying to, yes. Yeah. So trying to get them to put money into the next project.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with Nqanawe and Why the Cattle Wait kind of now out, having lived to some degree full lives, or at least one cycle of a life each, what are you, I know you said at Heat Seekers you're not thinking about making anything right now, you still just want to
not that I wasn't thinking of making anything, it was that I wasn't thinking of making the feature version of Why the Cattle Wait. Yeah. And I had felt the same way about Nqanawe. It was such an intense like with Lakuchoni Langa, I had to immerse myself in some really dark aspects of our history. And that was so intense that I was like, oof, I don't know if I could do that for like another 3-5 years, you know? And then with Why the Cattle Wait, it was so grueling to make it. I didn't know if I could convince the actors to come back. So, yeah, but right now I'm working on, and I'm in an advanced stage of development of a feature. So I'm hoping to have that as the next thing that I
And this
get
is
out.
a feature that's going to be directed by you.
Yes.
This is your debut?
This would be my
your
debut feature, yeah.
Do you have a projected or desired putting it out there into the universe, or either production date, not date, but year rather, or release year? One between the two.
Production year, crossing fingers, hopefully by early next year, or if things go really well, end of this year. Yeah, that's my hope.
And release would then ideally be within
Like
the
end
next.
of 27.
Can you tell us more about which direction we're going? And you don't have to tell us the actual story unless you'd like to share that. But what
Yeah.
genre are we looking at? What kind of story and themes are we looking at exploring? What world are we?
So I'm trying to tap into, in a lot of my work, I tap into stuff from my own life. But I'm trying to do a mythical story again that is tapping into things from my own life and mythology that I'm interested in.
Okay. Super excited.
Yeah.
I genuinely do hope everything comes, together nicely before the end of this year. Because with that film, what would be the desired or ideal, like, not really strategy per se, but like, would you like, we're wishing here, a cinema release, or are you most partial to streaming? Because we live in that age nowadays.
Yeah. I still believe in cinema release. So I do want to have some cinema release before I have to hand it over to someone. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, thank you very much, PHUMI.
Thank you.
This has been a very, very great conversation. Very
Thank
insightful
you.
also, and shocking at certain points. There's just things
It
I
was fun.
really
Thank
couldn't have
you.
anticipated. Thank you very much for taking the time to sit with us here at Black Out Loud.
Thank you so much.
Before we leave, we have something extremely nice and special for you.
That's so nice.
Just a small anyana. Thank you.
Oh, this is so nice. Thank you so much. How? I wasn't even expecting a goodie bag. This is so lovely. Thank you.
It's more than a pleasure. It's more than a pleasure. Thank you for spending your time with us.
Okay, thanks for having me.
Thank you to everyone who tuned into Black Out Loud. My name is Nqanawe Shangase. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, and share. And until next time, stay African, stay fearless, and stay unapologetic. Salute, Buffies.